Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to The Highway with Kyle Shutt. I am Kyle Shutt. It is so good to be back. I am so sore. I started seeing a trainer because it was time to make a life change, and I knew if I was going to go to the gym and just sit there and stare at myself in the mirror and walk on a treadmill that nothing was going to happen. So I went down to Squatch Fitness here in Austin on Tillery Street, and I got a guy named Dave to just whoop my ass into shape.
Who?
Dave! D-A-V-E! Will you open up the goddamn door? Yeah, Dave!
Dave?
Right, man, Dave. Now, will you open up the door?
Dave's not here!
Oh. And let me tell you, I am feeling every second of it, but it's good. I was drinking too much. I was eating too much. I was kind of... my whole lifestyle is basically sitting on my ass and painting, sitting on my ass and podcasting, sitting on my ass making music. And it was time to make a change. It feels really good to get active and up and out there. So if you've been waiting to get on that program, then it's time. There's no time like the present. I hate to be cliche about it, but seriously, I feel so much better. And if you're waiting, do it now. And if you're already doing it, keep it up, because let me tell you, it's really difficult to commit to that. Getting up every day and getting out to that gym, but I'm glad I'm doing it. I feel a lot better, and I want you to feel better too. You know why? Because I care about you, damn it. Today on The Highway, we're going to talk with a good old friend of mine, Mr. Beto Martinez. He played in a few of the bands that other people have been in that we've had on the show, like Adrian Quesada and Alex Marrero. He used to play in Grupo Fantasma and Brownout and their version of Brown Sabbath. But his new band, Caramelo Haze, is absolutely phenomenal. I cannot wait for y'all to hear us talk about it. I love interviewing all kinds of people, whether we're friends or complete strangers. But the friend interviews are really fun because we get to dig into a little bit more of the Austin history and the music scene that we were all a part of. And so I'm ready to take a trip down memory lane. But first, it must be a slow news week, because have you seen these headlines? That's not news. God, this one pissed me off. Here we go. Gene Simmons' daughter, Sophie, is engaged. Now, you know what? Okay, nothing against his daughter, Sophie. This has nothing to do with her. I am very happy for you. Congratulations, Sophie. It's just, you should see the actual picture of this press release. It's not even a picture of her. It's just a picture of Gene and then a picture of her hand with the engagement ring on it. And I mean, God damn it, Gene. Okay, you know what? I got 2 points. Gene, stop making your daughter's engagement about you, okay? I don't know why you felt it necessary to put this press release out. This is fucking garbage. That's not news. Number 2, I started this segment because it's fun to poke fun at shitty headlines, but it almost seems like it's becoming the Kiss, slaughter hour, and I'm not about that. I might put a moratorium on shitty Gene Simmons headlines, because that's not news. And you think it wouldn't get any worse than that, but here's this hot slab of news here. I try not to call out the individual outlets that run these stories, but I think I'm going to call out Rolling Stone on this one, because this made the cover of the Rolling Stone. Rivers Cuomo hasn't had sex in 2 years, and boy, is he ready to rock. I mean, God, come on, y'all. That's on the cover. Okay, number 1, that's not news, because if you've been following Weezer at all through the years, and number 1, Rivers is kind of weird, and then also he's known for going through periods of celibacy, which is, hey, that's fine, that's great. I'm happy for him. If anybody, I don't care, I'm not going to shame anybody for what they want, but does it belong on the cover of the Rolling Stone? I wonder what his bandmates think about that, just being in this picture with him too. I don't know, is it news? I mean, it's certainly clickbait. But the cover of that magazine, wow, I can't believe what it's become over the years. Nope, that's not news. All right, here's a fun one. This isn't news, but I'm gonna go to bat for Vince Neil here. I mean, not like he needs anybody to defend him, but this came from a different source, but it's their headline is, on yesterday's episode, we learned that Vince Neil is using a teleprompter on tour. Is that a big deal or nah? And then they have a picture of him here where, like, this, they circled the teleprompter, And I'm going to go ahead and just say that, like, number one, that's not news. That's not a big deal. A lot of bands do that, especially these older bands who have, like over 10 albums. And sometimes you can't remember every single lyric of every single song. And not everybody, wants to have a music stand on stage or like a visible iPad or anything like that. So when you build these teleprompters, you can actually build it to look like a monitor wedge, and then it's just in there. It's rolling your front of house or your lighting engineer, has full control of that, and it just scrolls so you don't forget your lyrics and end up, doing the thing that like some bands do. I'm not going to name names, but when they get wasted when they play and they forget the second verse, so they just sing the first verse over again. It's not like Vince Neil is actually singing anyway, or if he is, it's just not discernible. I don't even know if he really needs those lyrics there, but plenty of bands have the teleprompters on stage. There was even a huge band that we toured with one time that had them, and they did not like the word teleprompter, so they made everyone call them word wedges, which I thought was fun. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Who cares, man? On the flip side of that, I did hear a story one time about rest in peace Chester Bennington. Whenever he tried out for Stone Temple Pilots, they asked him if he wanted a teleprompter while they were rehearsing and getting ready, and he said, "No, man, I know every single one of the Stone Temple Pilots lyrics by heart." I just thought that was really cool. So it is fun when you can extend that amount of mental energy and memorize all the lyrics, but it's not for everybody, especially when you've been boozing and taking abusing drugs and shit for decades. Sometimes you need a little help, especially when there's just fire everywhere and, go-go dancers and shit. I don't know. Give the guy a break. I mean, I know they keep retiring and coming back and everything, but Vince Neil having a teleprompter is not news. Talk about a slow news week. Although, here is some news. This one really caught me by surprise this week. Nita Strauss leaves Alice Cooper's band, cancels solo tour dates. This one's huge for me for a couple of reasons. Number one, I tried to get Nita on the podcast maybe about 6 months ago, and her press agent told me that she was kind of holding off until her solo album dropped because she was going to go on a tour of her own and all this stuff. And so I was really patiently awaiting that. So it's crazy to see that she's left Alice's band. She's one of the sickest guitar players of all time, and I was really looking forward to chatting with her about it, but maybe we can have something more to talk about when she comes back on, because now she joined Demi Lovato's band. So maybe she's on some crazy alien conspiracy tip. I don't know what's going on with Nita, but that's news. Oh man, here's one. I feel, I don't like these fall down, go boom stories. I'm sorry. That's not news. It's just sad. But I will mention this one. The Rage Against the Machine vocalist injures leg mid-show, finishes set sitting down. Man, don't fucking report this shit. I mean, I don't know. I guess, it is of interest to people. But of the trifecta of people that I thought would never be the ones to continue to play a show with a broken leg, we've got, what do we have? Dave Grohl, Axl Rose, and Zach De La Rocha. I wouldn't have bet on those three in a million years. So I don't know. Maybe it is news, but all I can think of whenever I read this headline is Zach De La Rocha going, "Broken in the leg! Broken in the leg!" That's not news. All right, now I know this is the one you've all been waiting for. I've predicted it for years and years, and it's news. I'll give him that, but Zakk Wylde and Charlie Benatti joined Pantera for 2023 reunion tour. Oh my God, that's ridiculous. It's not a reunion. Number one, it's just going to be a tribute show. That's fine.
This is just a tribute.
Charlie Benatti and Zakk Wylde doing it. That's what I have an issue with, because I swear to God it was supposed to be me doing this. They need a Texas boy up on that stage. I swear to God, let me look at I've got the memo somewhere here, but I swear to God they asked me to do it, but whatever. All right, Zach Wilde's a great guitar player. He's gonna do a killer job. Charlie Benatti, I don't know. He doesn't really have that style of like, super enormous cannon drums that Vinnie Paul was known for. It'll be a fun show if you never got to see Pantera and you just want to go hear those songs. I know people are real up in arms about whether or not society even needs a band like Pantera anymore with all this tough guy bullshit. But I don't know, like if you just go back and look at some of those live performances of them from like 91, 92, they were just the most devastating fucking band out there. And this isn't going to come anywhere close to that kind of energy, but I'm sure it'll be a fun celebration and I'm sure it will cost $200. So congratulations, boys. You made the headlines again. God, I wonder what kind of happy horse shit they're going to report on next week. Who cares? This week we got Beto Martinez on the show. We're going to talk about Caramelo Haze, and at the end of the interview, we're going to hear a new song off that record called Mi Acento. I am so excited about it. Let's do things my way. The Highway.
Hey, man.
Hey, Beto, what's going on, man?
Not much, dude. How you doing?
I've been all right. I was just thinking, like, I can't remember the last time I saw you. It's been forever, Doug.
It has been forever, man. I don't remember either. It may have been a show or something.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. But goddamn, dude, you've been busy.
Yeah. Thankfully, man. Yeah, I've been sort of splitting my time, between few shows here and there, and then the studio. So,
yeah, you're kind of like we have a lot in common now. We have like so many bands. Like, I don't know. I feel like I have so many projects going on that like I never play shows anymore. You know?
Yeah, it's hilarious, dude. Yeah, but you guys sort of gotten back on the road, right?
Yeah. We got back together last fall. We hit the road with Primus. That was a wild ass tour. I never thought that would happen. That was fucking cool though. Seeing those guys every night, and it was funny going back and watching like old Primus footage. Like they've changed so much over the years. Just that their show now is more like a video projection kind of visual thing. They don't really jump around on stage that much anymore. They're not really even that loud. Like Larry's guitar wasn't even that loud in the mix ever. I don't know. It was a different beast, but it was still an honor to be out on the road with them. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, I saw them a few times, back in the day, like during the Brown album, and then I think last time I saw them was when they did the like Willy Wonka thing or whatever.
Oh
like,
shit!
Yeah.
Which was
cool. Nuts.
Yeah, I never saw him play that, but I did. I listened to the record, and it was like fucking dark, man. That shit was cool.
Yeah, for sure, man.
I never. The first time I got to see them was we did the Soundwave tour, which was like an Australian sort of heavy metal, punk, hip hop, like catch-all kind of thing, and it was like 98 bands in one day. It was too much. But that was the first time I had ever seen them, and they were actually on out with Jay Lane at the time, who was he was the drummer for Sausage before Primus was even a band. And so really it wasn't even like seeing Primus, it was like watching Sausage play Primus songs. It was fucking cool, man. They were great, and like I'll never forget like standing on stage. It was like 105 out, and playing, Tommy the Cat, and just like 40,000 people all just going, "Say baby," it was fucking intense. I was like, oh my God, dude. But even since that was maybe like 10 years ago, but even since then they've mellowed out a little bit. They were doing that the Rush tribute, playing A Farewell to Kings in its entirety.
Fuck yeah.
It was crazy. Like I that's just madness. I mean, it's one thing doing Willy Wonka or whatever like that, but when you like take on a whole Rush album, that's just fucking insane. And they did it every night.
Yeah, that is crazy, man. I actually wanted to see that, but yeah, it just didn't work out. But
shit happens. And as all the shows I ever wanted to see, I always missed because I was on tour or like playing, my own shows or doing something else like that.
It's true, man. Fucking never go see shows, but that's how it is. We make the shows, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Who bakes for the baker? But this sounds really shitty to say, but if you're in a band and shit, then you know what I'm talking about. But there was a long time when I just didn't pay to get into shows. I would just hit up our agent or whatever. If whoever was coming to town, I would just be like, "Hey man, get me into the show for free," and doing that, and shit like that. So there came a point where I kind of like felt guilty about it and was like, I should buy tickets. I should like pay the next show that comes through town. I'm gonna buy 2 tickets and I'm gonna do it. And it was Rodriguez opening for Brian Wilson at Bass Concert Hall, and the tickets were like $125. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ! You people pay this money every single time you go out to a show. I had a whole different appreciation for it after that.
Yeah, I'm always like, my wife wants to go see a show or whatever, and I'm like, let me see who I could talk to, and then she buys tickets like just because she's obviously has her mind in a better place.
So it's what normal people do, you know what I mean?
Well, you buy tickets, like I could have fucking asked, I don't know who, and she's like, buy the damn ticket.
Yeah, after the pandemic and everything, when shows started coming back, I stopped calling it the guest list and I started calling it the bitch list. I was like, oh, you a bitch, huh? You bold enough to ask for a free ticket, huh? Okay, all right, yeah, you got it, man.
Yeah, but some motherfuckers still have no shame, man. They're like, oh, you haven't worked in 2 years? Can you put me on the list? Like, what the fuck, man?
What? God damn, dude. But yeah, you've been busy as always. I've had Adrian Casada and Alex Marrero on the show before talking about. It was more like talking about Black Pumas and also the Doom Side of the Moon with Alex and stuff. But you all came from Grupo Fantasma, which we've talked about on the show before, but I've never heard your point of view because it was you and Greg kind of started that vibe, but not really that band. You all kind of did that together, but coming down from Laredo, right, is kind of where y'all kind of got your start.
Yeah, exactly, man. Greg and I met in Laredo. That's where I was born and raised. Greg moved there like sometime around like 7th grade or some shit like that. So this was like in like 89 or 90. And I met Greg in 8th grade. I was just starting to play guitar and he happened to be starting to learn how to play bass. And we were both fucking heavy into Metallica and Megadeth and all the thrash shit, from those years. And we just hit it off, man, and started playing. His mom had a air conditioned garage, which for Laredo it's hot as fuck,
Yeah.
Like always. So that was like, I actually like if we ever won some giant award, I think I'd probably thank his mom for her garage because that was like fucking formative, man. We got to learn and practice in there with some AC. But yeah, Greg and I like came up to those high school years, started bands together, eventually started a band called The Blimp, which was kind of our first like band where we started doing regular gigs. And as we graduated high school, we started getting paying gigs at just like little shitty spots there in Laredo. Laredo doesn't have any like infrastructure for really professional musicians in any sort of way. There are like bars or whatever that you can maybe talk them into letting your band play. But there was a pizza place that was also a pool hall that gave us like this weekend gig where we'd play Thursday through Saturday. So we did that. That was like the year we graduated high school in 95. We started doing that gig and really doing well, playing our own music. before that we had been playing parties and shit, but that's that like residency, if you want to call it that or whatever, kind of gave us the idea that like, hey, maybe we can actually do this shit, but we should get the fuck out of Laredo. Let's go to Austin.
Yeah, what was the direction like that musically, like back then? Like what kind of things were y'all dipping in and out of?
Man, it was like really kind of weird shit, but ostensibly it was like funky music, I guess. You know, we were trying to play funk. It was kind of our own fucking weirdo way, but we also had like a metal background and a rock background, so it was informed by all that. It would have moments of like moshing and then a lot of fucking dancing and just people kind of doing their own thing. But I think we decided early on, like, we got together to play initially, Greg and I, to play like Metallica covers, but then we really quickly started writing our own shit, as bad and as weird as it was. But I think that was also like just a big, like, sort of formative decision that we decided to write our own shit regardless of what it sounded like, and then we just kind of kept that vibe. So by the time we were doing this gig, it was mostly all our own shit. We only had a couple of covers in the set, and people seemed to dig it, like I said, and we were making like a tiny bit of money. I think they were paying us $500 for the whole fucking weekend for like for fucking 3 shows. But we were like, yeah, dude, this is badass. Let's go to Austin. We made a 4-track fucking cassette demo, and Greg's brother already lived up here, so he moved up, stayed with his brother. I moved up with my drummer. We connected up here, and then started playing here, and it really, like, all of our like big expectations, we fucking drove into town, my drummer and I, jamming our demo as loud as possible with the windows down, and drove by Antone's several times. Like, if somebody was going to run out, like, oh, fuck, what is that? Stop. Like, come back.
What is that glorious sound?
Yeah, it was kind of silly. But yeah, we settled into what just became kind of a normal grind. I mean, it wasn't like some sort of like, oh, we got here and it just fucking took off. We actually got here. We played like 2 shows at parties, and then our singer moved back home. And like, shit kind of didn't really move that fast, and I started going to school, Greg started going to school, but we kept just kind of gigging with that band, parties and shit like that. And then we eventually met up with Adrian somewhere in there, probably like 96, 97, because he was from Laredo also. So just meeting up with other people from Laredo here, eventually kind of got together with him, and he had a band called the Blue Noise Band, that I'm sure he mentioned was kind of like a avant-garde kind of jazz thing. And we started doing shows together, like at coffee houses and shit on the east side, and lots of house parties. But that sort of collaboration, just hanging out, listening to music, we had started to sort of incorporate some cumbia into our set with the Blimp. Just like little moments of cumbia. We might do one cover or like have a funk song that would go into a cumbia just to fuck around. And we obviously grew up with that in Laredo. And like initially shunned it because we were into metal and shit, and we were like, oh, fuck that. But then we kind of came back around. We heard some really good shit, like Colombian cumbia that just really hit us. And we started getting into that. But yeah, that seed got planted, and then like in the late 90s, doing shows with Adrian's band, kind of doing okay here and there. We at some point decided to join up and make a big band. Like, Adrian's band had a sax player, Dave Lobel. And so he knew a couple other horn players, and we eventually put together this thing for a party that we called Young Silly Bitches. And that was
I saw you posted that flyer the other day.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it was just, stupid shit. But that was our first like foray into like a large band format with a horn section. And we just did that for like special occasions, whatever, and just continued to play. But sometime in 2000, I guess, yeah, somewhere in there, Adrian and I were hanging out at his apartment, like after a party or whatever, kind of fucked up, just listening to music, and we were listening to the Cumbia record, was a compilation called Cumbia Cumbia 2. And it was all Colombian, old school Colombian cumbia from like the 50s and 60s. And we loved that record. We were always jamming it. And someone had the idea. We were like, dude, we should just do a show and play these fucking songs. And I went home, whatever, the next day, Adrian had already called Damon Lang who now owns Nomad Sound. But at the time, Damon was booking bands and doing the sound at the Empanada Parlor on 6th Street. And Damon agreed to give us a show. So Adrian called me that next day and he's like, dude, I booked a show for the Cumbia Project. And I was like, fucking Cumbia Project? Like, all right, I guess we got to put a band together. So yeah, we basically at that point just merged the Blimp and the Blue Noise band and did that first show. I think we had 6 songs. It was like 5 cumbias and a Fela song that we were able to just kind of jam on for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And we did that set twice that night. Because that was all the shit that we had. We like played it once, took a long ass break, came back and played it again. But people dug it, and that was sort of the inception, man, of Grupo Fantasma. That's where it started.
That's badass, dude. I used to, because that was I started to become aware of y'all maybe around like 02, 03, whenever Movimiento Popular came out. I can't remember exactly when, but y'all used to play emos all the time. And emos was like, I've said this before, but emos was like the kind of like the umbrella club for Austin. Like you could go see Cephalic Carnage on Monday, and Raekwon on Tuesday, and Grupo on Wednesday. It was just like, but we were all there like 5 days a week. It was like our clubhouse, and y'all were the only band. Because I don't know, back in the day, like everyone was a little too cool for school. Just like didn't want to act like they liked the band too much. Just that kind of fucking leftover 90s mentality. But y'all were the only band outside emos that could just all of a sudden was like, damn, these butts are shaking. You know what I mean? Like just people, y'all were so good that like you got everybody to come out of their shell and just forget how cool they were for a minute. I'll never forget those days.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, we all like at that time, especially when we were fucking just in our 20s and fucked up and having a good time. Our aesthetic or what we tried to go for was sort of the opposite of what Latin music was in town up to that point, which was like get fucking dressed up, go out, pay like a pricey cover, and dance only if you knew the fucking moves and could dance really well. Our show was essentially a fucking rock show, and we would just pack it in. Everybody was sweating, dance however the fuck you want. We dressed however we wanted to. We threw in like fucking wing covers and shit. Just to mix it up, you know what I mean? So we were kind of, I think, trying to offer just like a counterpoint to all the kind of stuffy Latin music that was going on at the time. So
that's a really good way to put it. One thing I did want to ask you about though, because especially that first record, I had seen y'all a bunch, but I think I was listening to NPR or something when they played a track off your record, and that's when I actually went down to Waterloo and bought the CD, the Movimiento Popular. And it sounded so different than y'all did live, and I was just curious, like what the production situation was like back then, because like it sounded like a big Miami like Latin pop record kind of. If that I don't mean that negatively, but I always wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, so the first record was almost a demo, but it really did reflect just what we were doing live. Like we just went in and cut it in one day, and there was a few covers on it of these old cumbias. And then in between the first and second record, we added some other members. And at that time, in that time period, we had a saxophone player. His name was Joseph Serrato. He still plays like kind of jazz stuff in town, but he joined the band. And then our timbalero, Jose Galeano, who was also the lead singer at that time, he's still in the band. But
I love Jose.
Those two guys became like Lennon McCartney of Fantasma from that time period, and they just started writing a shitload of songs, and they were writing good songs. We were digging them, the crowd was digging them, but they definitely leaned towards that vibe. And then especially at that time, they were trying to go for something like that, for like a kind of club sort of thing. There was like a real mix of like I guess reggaeton was just kind of starting to take over, and I don't know, there was just like this weird crossover thing happening, and those guys in particular were going for that sound. So they kind of pushed that second record a lot. At that time, Adrian was doing like hip hop production at the time. I was not recording music at all. I was just a guitar player. So they kind of spearheaded that second record, chose the studio, all that shit. And we went in there, and Joseph at the time was working a lot with Reason, the DAW Reason. So he was like, for that record, he had sequenced all these beats and stuff. I didn't really know what I was doing in the studio at that time, so I didn't know how to like push back. Not to say that I totally hated it or anything, but it was like another direction.
Yeah.
And it really, like, because those guys spearheaded it, that's what came out on that record. And to be honest, at the time in 2003 or whatever, it felt modern. And then to look at like what was big in Latin music, it sort of felt like, oh, this is a modern record. Maybe it'll fit in there. Maybe we'll get on these big shows or whatever. But pretty quickly afterwards, especially with like Adrian and Greg and myself, we realized like, man, this is not what we're going for. This isn't the sound that we're going for. And then we actually parted ways with Joseph not that long after that for other reasons, you know, that I'm going to get into. But it was at that point really where we decided to take more control of the sound, Adrian, Greg, and myself. We were already playing with Brownout, which we had total control over, and we're going for this like old school kind of deep funk, like just really analog vibe or whatever. So the next record that we made was a live record, because we were like, hey, that second album like doesn't sound like the band at all. So we need to show people like what's really happening here, which at the time it was all about the live show. We were packing shows multiple nights here in town or whatever, and that's all everyone talked about was like, these dudes live are badass. So we were like, that second album is the opposite of these dudes live. Let's make a live record. So we made a live record. And then the record after that, Sonidos Gold, was the first one, I think, where we actually started to find our sound. And it was where we really started to figure out how to work in the studio and how to get the things we wanted out of the studio.
Man, I remember I had a front row seat for all that shit, man. Like, just seeing it all happen, you know, like just as a concert goer, or like seeing y'all backstage at festivals and just watching the band grow and evolve. Like that, man. It was really something special. It's a huge part of Austin music history.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, those were great fucking years. It was a lot of fun. We were having a great time. That whole decade, the first decade of the 2000s, I would say, were nothing but upward trajectory.
That shit was nuts too, because I mean, it was kind of the same for us. We came around a little bit later. We formed around like 2003, but hit the ground running just because we had all been in bands before and knew what and what not to do and things like that. But whenever I feel like our rises were kind of parallel, just in two different oceans of music. And but it was always funny because no matter what, we always ended up playing like the same festivals, and we would always see y'all backstage and just fucking burn all the weed down, and just have a lot of fun, just swapping stories and stuff. Because y'all, once the live record came out, and y'all, we talked about this with Adrian a little bit, but just getting on Prince's radar, and then y'all all of a sudden just sort of being scooped up into that world, sort of happened at the same time that we got scooped up by Metallica, and we were all just sort of in these surreal worlds, that we all wanted, but that I don't know about. I can't speak for you, but just I was sorely prepared for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was a lot of learning on the job and things like that. But it was always fun seeing y'all backstage somewhere, and just y'all are like this fucking enormous Latin orchestra that just wanted Metallica stories, and we're just a bunch of dorky white kids that wanted Prince stories and shit like that. Those were good days, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I think I had mentioned to you, but like when you guys started working with Metallica and shit, I mean, I was already a fan of you guys. Like I remember seeing you all at the Compound at Damon's old spot.
Uh-huh.
Being like, holy shit, these guys are fucking badass, because you were like had the sound of the metal that I love, you know. But when you all like started doing shit with Metallica and stuff, like I was like, damn, these guys are like living the dream that I set out to actually do, like to play fucking metal. And specifically, like I was into Metallica, and I was like, damn, somehow I ended up in a Latin band, but you guys are fucking out there like rocking heavy shit that I wanted to do. But yeah, I was always super proud of you guys and super into it, man.
Well, thanks. And I wanted to talk about that for a second, about just the word Latin getting as a blanket term for music or whatever. Because like for as many bands as that I've seen you be with, be it Grupo or Brownout, and then that turning into Brown Sabbath, and then Monichicha, and then just going into the band that we're about to talk about, Caramelo Haze, your new project, which is fucking awesome, by the way. I absolutely love that record. But
Thank you, man.
In my opinion, like it's. I hate being like this guy that's like, it's just music, man, you know, but it's like everybody's got to put a sticker on something, you know, everybody's got to have a label to categorize it under, or a little box to put it in. But I feel like, I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn here, but I feel like a lot of music that just isn't sung in English just gets labeled world music. And I don't know, I take offense to that. And there's so much more, like what is world music? What does that even mean? That doesn't mean anything. But then it could used to be like, this is a Latin record because it's, you know, it's sung in Spanish, or this because it has a slight, you know, cumbia groove to it, then it has to be Latin. I don't know, like what, because I've seen you like Brownout, like you said, is like a whole deep funk, like kind of, I guess it started off like an instrumental kind of like, or like gang vocal kind of thing, you know, and then Grupo is, you know, a more traditional, actual, you know, like Latin big band kind of thing. But how do you feel about that? Like, what do you feel about the different like genre trappings and things like that, especially as it relates to like your new album?
It's definitely problematic, and I've always felt that way, because I think more than anything it's limiting. Like there's an identity for sure that you can pull from it and you can be proud of or whatever, especially if you're deliberate with it. But I think that once you put that label on it, once it's like Latin or world, it's limiting. Like the world that you exist in musically and commercially essentially becomes much smaller. Mm-hmm. Like if you're a rock band, or I don't know, just like pop music or whatever, then there's this whole wider access. And as soon as you call it this other thing, it becomes really small, because you can look at a roster for a music festival, for example, and the bands that are labeled, you know, Latin music, there's going to be, I mean, this is changing for sure. And only in the last few years have I started to see like bands or musicians that would be labeled Latin headlining these major like rock and pop festivals. And that's been like a super pleasant surprise, and that's been really great to see. But it's still like only a handful of acts for the most part, compared to, you know, like 90% of the rest of the festival is not labeled Latin. Mm-hmm. So it's like, man, like I released this record last year called The Los Sundowns, which was kind of an instrumental. It's hard to describe, but kind of instrumental, like somewhat like rock, somewhat like psychedelic kind of soulish stuff. I was inspired by ballads, like mainly Latin American ballads of like the 60s, very similar to the record that Adrian just put out. We both have an affinity for that music. Mm-hmm. He kind of took a different approach than I took, though, for that one. But anyway, you know, when you're going to put a record out and you got to put all the metadata and all that shit together so that it goes into the streaming services and whatever, and it gets in the right place, you have to choose like these genres. And I was super like hesitant, and I actually did not put Latin on it because of that, because I felt like it was super limiting. I just called it like soul, I think. And I don't even know if that fits correctly, but yeah, it's really difficult to make those decisions and put those labels on there. And like I said, there's kind of this misconception, and it really just, I think, limits your audience, and ultimately your reach and your access. So it's a tough decision to label something, I think, as Latin or whatever. And then also because people, hey guys, here. I'll relay a quick like anecdote just in terms of how people perceive like quote unquote Latin music. I have the band Money Chicha, and this happens with all the bands, but with Money Chicha I think it's the fucking weirdest, because I like specifically try in that band to emulate this like Peruvian style of cumbia,
like real chicha, right? You know, like
real chicha, and every aspect of how I play in that band, like the guitar solos, whatever, all the phrasing, like there's no bends in that music with the guitar, like everything is weird little hammer-ons and stuff.
I call it playing guitar like a piano.
Yeah. So I try to be very specific about how I play that gig. Then I add some weird ass effects on it, like this fucking vibrato that detunes it and shit. So for me, it's fucking psychedelic and weird. Without fail, people will come up to me after, like, at least one person will come up and be like, "That was great. You sound like Santana." And I'm just like, dude, first of all, did you listen to the show? Second of all, have you ever heard Santana? But that's like the one basic point of reference. And like, I fucking love Santana, and he definitely broke a lot of ground. And I still listen to him, and actually, as we speak, he just had, like, he passed out on stage or whatever. I think he's doing. Yeah, so all love to Santana, but I don't fucking sound like Santana.
That's fucking badass. But I did want to ask about Money Chicha though, because it's just you, Greg and John, right? Still, just the three.
No, we have Sweet Lou on congas. And,
okay.
Yeah, and then Peter Stopshinsky, local Austin composer and freak genius, but he's playing keys.
Oh, okay. So never mind. That my comment goes out the window, because I was gonna say, like, what was it like going from like a 14-piece big band through all your different bands, and then you finally whittle it down to 3 people? But I guess you just answered my question, because now you're up to 5. So pretty soon, Money Chicha's gonna be like like 9 people up there.
Well, no, see, because that was actually really deliberate. Before we had a keyboard player, it was 2 guitars, because Adrian and I formed Money Chicha also. So, but
I didn't realize Adrian was a part of that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, he was initially in it from 2010 to 2015. But dude, that was a deliberate move. It was like, we have all these giant bands, let's make a smaller band, and kind of the smallest we could get was 5 pieces. But we were like, no fucking horns. We don't have to deal with horns. Let's just make this some guitar shit. But yeah, that was a deliberate move to make it smaller. And it's much easier to fucking deal with.
Hell yeah, it is. Jesus Christ. I don't know how y'all toured with that many people in a van. Like, that's just ridiculous. Because we would tour like up and down the Midwest or just all over the States, really, and just see y'all's stickers backstage at the same clubs that we were playing. You know, and I was just like, good God, like, this dressing room couldn't even hold us. Like, how did 14 motherfuckers, like, chill at this club, you know?
Yeah, it was a lot of close quarters and fucking small stages and whatever, just trying to make do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember one time y'all were, this might have been Utopia Fest or something. I wasn't there, but you told me the story, and I did see the video of it. You got asked to join Aaron Freeman on stage, who, if nobody out there knows, he is Gene Ween. That was his real name is Aaron Freeman, and then that's what his solo act is. But y'all got to play with him one time. It was just one song that he wanted to play, Buenas Tardes Amigo, but it's like he didn't have a band with him or something, and like y'all got asked like backstage at the fest to like get up there and play it with him, and y'all had to like go learn the song like in a couple of hours and then like join him for his show. Man, well, what was that shit like?
Yeah. Yeah, man, that was a lot of fun, and that was a crazy experience. So that was like right when he had left Ween
Uh-huh.
and had gone like sober, and it was kind of controversial, I guess, because there were like he made some allegations against Dean, um, or something like that. I don't know, but anyway, they're back to playing together.
I remember it was a weird time. There was like some bad blood there for a second, but yeah, they seem to be doing fine now. I don't know. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this was like his first kind of solo shit or whatever, and he was at Utopia. They had sort of brought it up, like, hey, would Grupo or some guys from Grupo do this song with him? And we said yes. And then when we got to the festival, they ended up telling us like, no, it's not going to happen, whatever. So we played earlier that day, and I asked again, hey, are we going to have to play with him? And they said no. So we were like, cool. So after we finished playing, I ate a mushroom. One single fucking mushroom. Because I was going to hang out and watch music for the rest of the night. Well, dude, like just shortly before he's going to go on, they're like, he wants you to play. And I'm like starting to get weird at that point. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, seriously? Like that song, for people that don't know, it has like a this very iconic solo, you know, that starts with this like huge like line. So I was like, I can't fuck that up. Like I have to be able to play that, and I don't even know it. And it's not that hard, but
that little descending thing, that yeah, but it's a huge moment in that song.
Yes, exactly. And then on top of it, just being fucking weirded out with the shroom, I was like, God damn it. So I went back and fucking listened to it and got it, and yeah, man, he invited us on stage. He was like super gracious and super nice. But on top of it, you know, like I've been a Ween fan forever, and they're notorious for their partying, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at that moment, he's sober. He's like totally sober, and there's a big deal about him being completely sober. And then I'm on stage with him, which was like an awesome thing. Like, oh shit, I'm getting to play with him, but I'm fucking tripping, and he's sober. So it was just like a weird juxtaposition.
Dude, I love playing on shrooms, but you have to do it just right. You know what I mean? The window of error is fucking small, man.
Exactly. But I mean, it ended up working. The crowd loved it. I listened back to that recording, and my solo is like super tense because I was trying to hold my fucking mind together, basically. but it was super fun, and it was a good time.
Oh man, that's rad. Thanks for sharing that, man. I really appreciate that. I always love asking people. Sometimes it's like, what's the craziest time whenever like you're backstage and you just look around at who you're hanging around, and you're like, I cannot believe they let me in here. You know?
Yeah.
Love shit like that. But man, but yeah, now you got Caramelo Haze going on, which is, like I said, it's fucking incredible. It's again, it's like it defies genre, just because it's, I don't know, it's pop, but it's got a Latin flair to it, but it's like, I love dude, it's hard to describe. It's really fucking good, man. Like, well, where did that come from?
Thank you, man. Yeah, we had the same issues, man, trying to figure out where to put that and how to say it, and because we didn't like put any sort of parameters on it going into it, and there were no constraints. My really good friend Alex Chavez, who plays synthesizers and sings on that record, he's based in Chicago. He used to live here in Austin and had a band called Maneja Beto back in the early 2000s, that would often play with Grupo Fantasma. But he's since gone on. He's a fucking PhD professor at Notre Dame, and he's an amazing musician, multi-instrumentalist, very versed in Mexican folkloric music as well as rock music, whatever. He plays guitar, plays keys, sings. He approached me in 2020 when we were all fucking locked down and just kind of sitting around not knowing what the fuck to do. He hit me up and was like, dude, what if I come down and just hang out for a week and we record some music? Like, try to do an EP is what he said. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. He's like, I can get tested or whatever and just come down and make sure we're all good and whatever. And then we just lock ourselves in the fucking studio. I have my studio here in Buda, Let Your House Music. So I was like, yeah, let's fucking do it, man. And the only parameters were the idea of a sonic palette, which he came up with. He was like, send some tracks that have like sounds that you'd like to explore. And one of them was the Juno 160, that synthesizer that he owned one. So he's like, I want to use this.
It comes in fat right in the first track too, man. Like just
yeah, for sure. And then I had a couple other ideas like that, like my weird fucking vibrato pedal that I use. Like I was like, I want everything to be fucking weirdly out of tune. But anyway, then I thought about Victor Cruz, who plays in a band called Nemegata here in Austin. He's part of this like Colombian community that of artists that have really started doing a bunch of cool shit here in town, and I've had the pleasure of recording a bunch of those bands like Superfónicos, Kiko Villamizar, and Nemegata, who really is like a rock kind of power trio, but informed by Colombian tradition. Victor is like very similar to Alex in the sense that he's a multi-instrumentalist, and he has a lot of like deep knowledge of Colombian folkloric music. So I thought right away, I was like, man, we should invite Victor. I think you two guys would do well together and kind of hit it off. So he was like, yeah, let's do it. And then John Spies got wind of the session, and he was like, you need a drummer. And I was like, I don't know yet. And he's like, I don't give a shit. I'm going.
That's such a John thing to fucking say.
Exactly. So he just showed up. So we had the four of us in here. And that first week just went fucking really well and really quick with not much effort, honestly. We just kind of hit it off.
That's how you know you're doing it right.
Yeah, exactly. It just like fucking songs just started flowing. And it went so well that we were like, man, fucking EP, like, let's set up another session and let's do a whole record. So he came back in September. We did another week, and we ended up with 10 songs. And then mixed it in 2021. I think we were done like in April, and we did it all here in house. So I recorded it and mixed it as well as played guitar on it. But man, we were just super stoked about it. And sometime at the end of 2021, I started kind of pitching it to some labels to see if we could get somebody to put it out. And Nacional Records ended up being into it, and that's where it lives now. And it came out June 24th.
It's a fucking great record, man. I listened to it like 3 times since you sent it to me, and I'm super proud of you, man. I've watched your musical journey over the years, and it's just you keep coming up with fucking rad shit. I'm seriously proud of you, man. It's awesome.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
In the record, it's called Noesteásaquí, right? Like as one word.
Yeah, exactly.
That means you are not here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any meaning behind that, or did you just think it was a clever title?
That was sort of, I think Alex came up with that. It was sort of this, like, it kind of exists on multiple levels. One of them being sort of like, we felt like what we did was kind of futuristic, but also kind of old school. Like, I don't know, it just seemed like out of time. And so the idea that like the listener is not where we are or where we were when we recorded it, just sort of in a, I don't know, spacey sort of way.
Yeah.
Like, you're not actually here. But because a big part of it for us was psychedelia. Like, we wanted the record to be weird and kind of spacey and psychedelic. So we just wanted to attach that sort of to the title there, and just the whole vibe of it, That's
cool, man. Is there a track off of it that you'd want to play for everybody?
Man, I'm really proud of all of them, and I really dig a bunch of them. But one of them that I think would be great, just in this context, is Mi Acento, which is like this 6/8, kind of heavy, like really African influenced track, and I think it just showcases a lot of what we went for. And it's pretty different from the rest of the record, though. So it's not to say like, if someone hears it, to be like, oh, that's what it sounds like. Like, no, the record's like all over the place. But yeah, I dig that one a lot.
Fuck yeah, dude. Beto, thanks so much for sitting down with us, man. It's so good to catch up. We gotta get a beer sometime or something, man.
I would love to, man. And yeah, thank you for having me, man. It's my pleasure and honor to speak with you here on your show.
Oh yeah, brother. Oh shit, I almost forgot that one of our stoned ideas that we had one time. It was right when Doom Side of the Moon came out, and we were like, I think we were a little darling or something like that, like having a beer, talking about it. And you were like, man, we should do something. Like, because you said you always wanted to do a Crosby, Stills, and Nash thing, but you said, like, do it with me, but do it all super drugged out and call it Crosby, Pills, and Hash.
Yes.
And, like, I seriously went home and, like, tried to, like, think about it, but I was like, there's such a vocal band, you know, that, like, that would have to be a huge part of it. But I don't know, man. Maybe we get together and smoke a blunt and see what we can come up with.
For sure, man. Really, it's just a cool ass name. I don't even know if the music lends itself to that, but yeah, Crosby, Pills. And I got the Instagram already, so nobody can steal that shit.
Oh hell yeah! Oh dude, it's on. We have to make this, or at least one song.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Well, fuck, much love for you, Beto, and dude, Caramelo Haze out now. We're gonna listen to Mi Acento right now, dude. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle.
Thanks for tuning in to The Highway with Kyle Shutt. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe if you want to keep up with the latest episodes. And don't forget to check out the Highway with Kyle Shutt playlist on Spotify to keep up with all the rad tunes that we play on the program. And if you need some new gear in your life, don't forget to check out Reverend Guitars, Railhammer Pickups, Idiot Box Effects, and Ray Decker Cables. Stay high, everybody. We'll see you next week.